Good afternoon and welcome to the Boring Millionaire podcast. Today is Thursday, July 31st, and in this episode, I'm going to discuss why I'm buying United Healthcare and why I think it's a great opportunity to be buying it right at this moment. So United Healthcare is the leader in insurance providers. Now, insurance is something we're always going to need across the globe, and with that creates a reason why I'm investing in this company. I like to invest in companies that create the world that we live in and are a staple in the world that we live in. And despite the recent problems that United Healthcare has been having, they still are the leader in insurance providers. So I do want to start by giving a timeline of what's necessarily been going on with United Healthcare. In December of 2024, the CEO at the time, Brian Thompson, was famously assassinated, and that began the downward trend that we've been seeing in the stock. Although the stock did fall once that assassination occurred, it did rebound and basically re-meet its $600 all-time high. The all-time high is roughly $610, $612, but it was trading at that $600 level. Now, in April of 2025, they issued first quarter guidance for the year of 2025, and it was the first time in over a decade that they reported a quarterly loss for the first quarter. Not only was that bad enough, they also issued no guidance. So in many other episodes, I like to express that the guidance is really the more important part of the earnings. We're investing in the future of a company. We're not investing in the past of a company. So when a company issues earnings, it's nice to say, yeah, they've been making money. They're in line with what we thought, this, that, the third about them performing well. But what's more important is that where is the outlook going? Are they confident in the next 6 to 12 months? What are their plans for the next 6 to 12 months? And quite frankly, if you're going to issue a poor earnings report, you have to have earnings outlook that says, look, the past is bad, but the future will be good. And in this example, United Healthcare did not do that. They issued no guidance on top of a bad earnings report. And basically, most investors, myself included at the time, were like, whoa, what's going on here? This is kind of crazy. So it did send the stock downward very strongly. And then a month following that, the Department of Justice launched a probe into United Healthcare, suspecting that there was fraud being committed within the company. Now, one thing I like to shine light on is that I'm a big believer it's not United Healthcare that's committing the fraud. It's a few select individuals, key officers, big players within the company. They're doing whatever it is they're doing that is, consistent of the fraud, but it's not United Healthcare as an entire conglomerate who's doing this fraud. So I do think, yes, of course, that's bad news initially on the surface, but in due time that will get resolved and we will move past that as far as United Healthcare as a whole company. So with all that considered, they even issued earnings on Tuesday, July 29th, and that earnings report was not necessarily great, but not necessarily bad. Also, with how bad the first quarter was, people were really expecting kind of a miracle report to bring them back to life, which was not the case. So with all things considered, at the start of December 2024, the stock was trading at around 600. And then through that timeline of events, we landed right at 248 was the lowest that the stock saw. So the stock saw 248 basically at the end of May when the DOJ came out with that probe. And we have been kind of stagnant since then. But with Tuesday's earnings report, since it wasn't the miracle report people were expecting, it did create a sell-off in the stock. But that sell-off brought it back to its 248 level. So with that said, what the charts are telling me is that that's a double bottom. So a double bottom means a stock is in a free fall, hits hard, bounces, trades a little, and then bounces to that floor again. A floor determining that that's the lowest that the stock is going to go. So 248 was the lowest. For about 2 months, it traded between, we'll call it 325 and 260. And then off of this bad earnings report, it fell back to that 248 level. So with everything that I just mentioned about the timeline and the price changes in the stock, the charts are telling me that this is the absolute lowest that it's going to go. And I would also like to add this is the lowest the stock has been since April of 2020. So I do think now is the time to be buying that stock. I know with everything I just explained, it might be crazy to say, but nothing is actually wrong with the company. So with the assassination of the CEO, with the probe for fraud, and even with the bad earnings, yeah, you want good earnings, and like I even said, you want good outlook, but it's not like they're deteriorating from the inside out. It's just swarmed with bad news, constantly affecting the price of the stock. And that to me is opportunity. Through all the years I've been investing in the stock market, there have been time and time again where negative news and negative PR surrounds a company, and with that drives the price of the stock down. But in nearly all times, it's just bad PR, and the investment is proved to be worthwhile because once the dust settles and things clear up and this company gets back on its feet, we're going to just have this as a blip in the rear view, and we'll move forward to further prosperity. So I'm buying the stock at these 250, 260 levels. Even if it gets to a 500 level, you're already doubling your money in a brand name, household recognized name like United Healthcare. So I am a big believer in the stock. It has always been a big position of mine, and with this, I'm just continuing to add to it. I'm not afraid of the stock. I'm not running away from the stock. I'm not selling off the shares that I do have. I am using this as an opportunity to buy into the company. So with that said, they have always prevailed. They have always moved forward and adapted. And right now is just the crossroads of where they need to adapt. They need to get their feet on the ground and begin running forward with more positive news than what's been surrounding it over the past 8 months. So with all that said, I am a buyer of United Healthcare. I love the company and I love the position it's in. So please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. All episodes are available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And I'm happy to answer any questions you ever have about the stock market. My mission is to not only make you money with the stock market, but to teach you how to feel confident in doing so. So thank you for tuning in.